do it. He doesn't matter who he uses. It could be David. It could be Solomon. It could be Peter. It could be Paul. It could be Jesus. It could be Alexander the Great. It could be Nebuchadnezzar. It could be anybody. If God wants his plan fulfilled, he's going to use who he wants to fulfill his plan, right? And so I just thought that was pretty good timing on this part. Anyways, let's get to our lesson here. So we just got talking about so Alexander the Great died, right? And we talked about everything he did. So in every conquered land, he tried to Hellenize it, right? Which means to bring in all this Greek culture, Greek language, Greek writing, Greek ideas. He thought that the Greek way was the best way. But so God used him to do that, right? But he didn't need him for very long because he died in his early 30s, okay? But now we're seeing this whole, like, kind of everything that he had just did is now gone, right? Because he did not provide he didn't name a successor to his kingdom, to his empire. So his generals, his top guys fought over who was going to be what, and his I'll try to go back here. Here it is. His go away. Oh, it's zooming in and out again. Not that help. Come on, go back. All right, so yeah. We see his empire is split up into about 5 or so different regions, right? And then each one of his generals or top guys took a region. We talked about 2 of them. We talked about Ptolemy, who was down here in Egypt, and we talked about Seleucus, who was over here in the kind of the old Persian Empire. Okay. Ptolemy. Okay. He did some good things. He actually promoted Jewish immigration to Alexandria, where that was the capital of Egypt back when he was ruler. And he also translated the Hebrew text into Greek, right? Because Greek is kind of the lingua franca now, right? Okay. But then there's another guy called Seleucus, or the Seleucids, who were the opposite. Okay. He, even though they're all trying to fight for land and fight for more resources to expand, okay, he actually, this guy here named, let me get here, Antiochus IV, when he rose to power, he just hated the Jews. He tried to get rid of them. He actually tried to conquer Alexandria, but the Romans, who were growing back then, were like, "You should stop this. This is a good port city for us." And he's like, "Okay." So on his way back home, he stopped in Jerusalem. He took it over. He started putting in all these policies that were anti-God, anti-Jewish, and he was destroying scriptures. He was killing and torturing those who would not renounce God, right, as Lord. Okay, and so I did this for fun, right? It's kind of like what Hitler did, right? He didn't just have the camps, but he also, if you heard of Kristallnacht, right? With that happening, when he had Jewish synagogues destroyed. He's arresting people. He's beating people, and some people were killed, right? All because he claimed that a Jewish guy killed a German diplomat. Okay. Anyways. But this leads into the Maccabean revolt, okay? This is the anti-Seleucid rebellion in Judea. So, according to Jewish tradition, uh, Antiochus sent Syrian overseers and soldiers to villages throughout Judea to enforce the edicts of pagan worship. So, pretty much everything besides worshiping their God, right? God. Syrian soldiers demanded a local leader of Modin. His name was Mattathias. He's a priest. Okay, they ordered him to sacrifice a pig on a pagan altar, and he refused. I'm not going to do this, right? So, but some other Jews stepped up and killed the pig on the altar. So, what did Mattathias do? He killed that Jew who did that, and he killed the king's representative, okay, for trying to get them to do that. So he and his 5 sons banded together to take back their land, Jerusalem, and the temple. Okay, so here's kind of a pictorial representation of that. He's famous for saying, "Whoever is for God, follow me." So this actually leads to the Maccabean revolt. And there's 2 books in the what's it called? The Apocrypha, right? About the Maccabees. This is in Jewish texts, right? So he and his followers used guerrilla war tactics against a well-trained and well-equipped and pretty much endless Syrian army, because they have all the backing of Antiochus, right? Actually, Maccabees is translated to mean hammerer or hammerhead. So that was their nickname. The Maccabees, hammer, the hammer. I think Jim Adler was probably there too with them, right? Then he migrated here to Texas, and so now he's the Texas Hammer. Right. So he and his followers, down here. So this took 3 years. Okay, this took 3 years, but they finally reclaimed the temple. Hey, Amanda, see over there, laughing at me. Hey. Daniel's saying jokes over there. They held a dedication of the temple where they made proper sacrifices. They lit the golden menorah, followed by 8 days of celebration to praise God. What's this known as? Hanukkah. Yeah, that's Hanukkah. Come on now. Sorry? Socks given out? I don't think they wore socks back then. Oh, that's a joke. Oh, I thought jokes were funny. I'm gonna get it. I'm telling you. I'm gonna get it. Yeah, I'm a middle school teacher. Look, guys, you got it. Yeah, it takes a lot to make me. Huh? Yeah. Sorry, guys. Anyways. As we'll see later, the rise of Rome signaled the death knell of the Greek kingdoms. Macedonia and Greece were conquered in 167 and 145 BC, and Seleucid Asia by 65 BC. Cleopatra IV, the last Macedonian descendant of Ptolemy, committed suicide in 30 BC, after which Egypt was added to the Roman Empire. So this is kind of where we are at now. All right, so from what you can see on these 2 maps, what do you notice? Blue lines, thank you. That's a middle school answer right there. Thank you. I see blue lines and red lines. Huh? Journeys? Well, we're not at Paul yet. He's still a few hundred years away. At least 100 years away. I don't know. Ooh, the Silk Road, maybe? All right. That might be the bottom one, right? The red lines and the blue lines. Thank you, Brent, for that, right? What about the top one? What do you think that is? The top map. Those blue and pink and purple, green lines? Trade routes, maybe? Okay. Roman routes. I don't think that the Romans knew about the USA yet. Yeah, on the top one. USA. This is the world map, and this is kind of the known world back then. So we're going to talk about trade. Okay, so around 202 BC, the Silk Road. So Jesse was right. Clap for that. Yay, it's the Silk Road. Okay, came into prominence, connecting people from China, India, Tibet, and the Mediterranean. You guys can't see, there's a lot of lines and dots and dashes on the bottom one. That's all the different routes by land and by sea that were a part of the Silk Road, right? So we've seen that this is not just one road, right? It is called the Silk Road, but there were a lot of different roads connected here. There are actually a lot of different smaller ones that were already used by traders, pilgrims, missionary soldiers, and other travelers. Okay? So this really, really opened up trade between the Far East, like China, and the rest of the world, all the way to probably like Spain eventually, right? We're talking about a lot of distance here. And this is not just used for economics. This is used for cultures, right, and religion, because this is how Buddhism spread to China from Nepal and India, and we see how even the Romans talk about Chinese. And so how would they know that about them if it didn't have some kind of network that would connect them all? Okay. So that top map earlier, that was internet. That was an internet map going across the oceans and around the country. So the Silk Road was the ancient internet, right? This is where you get to learn about different cultures. You can learn different languages, different religions, buy and sell stuff off these routes, right? So this is the ancient internet. So, but those are some good things, right? But there are a lot of still bad things that come from this too. We have a lot of wars fought over control of these trade routes when it was apparent that you can get really rich off these trade routes if you controlled them, right? Does anyone know what else the Silk Road helped do that was bad? Jesse? Oh, you're cheating. Yeah. Yeah, disease, right? Yeah, exactly. Rampant. Disease was rampant along this trade route. Okay, because you're COVID? Maybe. But we're seeing people come in contact with each other who have never been to that part of the world, because Asia still has some illnesses that Europe doesn't have, right? So now we're getting all this. Of course, the famous one is Black Death, right? Is the Black Death. You can kind of see what it looks like, what it does to you in that top picture. But what do you guys notice on that map there? What do you see there on that map? Yeah, those are some of the main trade routes that were part of the Silk Road. So you can see where it started somewhere in China, and it made its way west to Europe and even to North Africa. It's kind of crazy, right? The plague, yeah, plague, bubonic plague. That's kind of what they're thinking that it was. So, even though there are goods and bads, this Silk Road did bring a lot of stability to the world, and cultures grew. They did really well because of the Silk Road. Okay, and especially one culture did. That was the Roman Empire. I think this is kind of cool because now we're getting closer and closer to Jesus being born, right? Because Rome was in charge when he was born. So we're getting closer now. We're getting closer. But let's go back to Daniel chapter 2, verse 40. Okay? It says, Daniel 2, verse 40 says, "Finally there will be a fourth kingdom, strong as iron, for iron breaks and smashes everything. And as iron breaks things to pieces, so it will crush and break all the others." So it's kind of crazy how all of this is going around Nebuchadnezzar's dream in Daniel, right? We first started a long time, I think even last summer, with Babylon taking over the Hebrews and bringing them right into captivity. Well, last chapter talked about Persia, right? Conquering Babylon after the writing on the wall, right? That same day, the Babylonian empire fell, and Persia rose to power. We talked about all the fighting with Persia and Greece, right? Eventually, Greece won. Okay, come on now. Okay, and they that led to Alexander rising up, right, taking over Persia and being the world power. But now Greece is over. Greece's reign is over. Now we're getting to Rome, which is about 168 BC to AD 467. That's a long time for them to be in power. There are three different stages of the rise of Rome. There was emerging Rome, which is about 3000 BC to 500 BC. The Roman Republic, from about 500 to 30 BC. And then we have the Roman Empire from 30 BC to AD 476. We're going to start at the Roman Republic, all right? So this began around the same time as democracy in Athens. So we're talking probably around 400 to 500 BC, right? Roman aristocrats rebelled against the Etruscan kings who lived in the north. So if you can kind of see on that map, all that lighter green to the north, that's kind of the Etruscan kingdoms. And so they ruled North Italy since about 700 BC. These kings favored the poor and greatly taxed the rich. So, aristocrats are naturally rich, right? Just like our politicians are naturally rich for some reason. Okay? They wanted to actually get rid of these kings, but they didn't have a military so that they could do that. So what did they do? They promised the poor more power if you help us get rid of them, right? That sounds good, right? More power from me, more voice from me, I'm in, right? I'm in. So they said yes. So the Etruscans were defeated. Happy times, right? Well, surprise, surprise, they did not go with their promise to the poor, right? Surprise, surprise. Is anyone shocked that a politician didn't follow up on their promise? I'm not. So, what, Danielle? What are you saying over there? She's surprised. Okay, she's surprised. That's funny. See, that's funny right there. She's gonna like hamstring me or something later on. So. Later, yeah, when I least expect it. So the poor revolted and they went on an economic strike that worked. And the Romans gave the poor the right to vote. But what about slaves and women? Nope. Slaves and women could not vote. Only the guys could. guys who weren't slaves, men who weren't slaves. So now we're going to look at the Roman Republic. Okay, so it was a representative democracy, just like we are. Right. So the poor voted on aristocratic class to represent them. Okay, because they still felt unrepresented. Because there's not really anybody from the poorer class who has anything to say, right? So they came up this aristocratic class came up with tribunes, right? So the poor could vote on tribunes from their class, which had the right to veto bills and laws that didn't seem favorable to them, to the poor. They also demanded that the Senate post all bills for the public to read. So they would go to their statues and kind of post on these boards that they had. And these political development. Hold on, I wonder if they were as wordy as our bills nowadays. I wonder if they were like 2,000 pages long, like every bill is now. And you have one day to read it, if that, right? Anyways, these political developments helped Rome grow and thrive, as well as set the foundation for other democratic movements. So all the while, Rome's army is gradually conquering surrounding cities. And all the cities that are conquered are fully integrated into the empire. So again, all free men have the right to vote. Sorry, slaves and sorry, women, right? Cities could create their own tribunes for the Senate, and people were granted benefits of the government. So maybe kind of their type of welfare kind of system. Okay. But all eligible men were enrolled into the army. Like there was no choice. You had to. So Rome kept growing and growing because as they're growing, they are enlisting more fighting men, right? So Rome's getting stronger and richer and more capable, right? They're just growing and growing and growing, getting stronger and stronger. So Rome had full control of the Italian peninsula by 274 BC. Then now they're looking at Sicily. So if like Italy looks like a boot, right? That little island off the toe of Italy, that is Sicily. Okay, so now they're turning there. But the problem is half of this island is controlled by the Greeks, and the other half is controlled by Carthage, which is in modern day Tunisia. Okay, so the Rome sent troops to attack the Greek half, but Carthage attacked Rome first, and this set off a series of wars between Rome and Carthage called the Punic Wars. So Punic is a Latin name for Carthaginians. So it's Punici or Ponici, right? Because of their Phoenician ancestry. And if you guys remember about Phoenicia, probably 2 summers ago, right? They're known for boat making and anyone know? Boat making, sailing, and purple, the purple dye, right? So now we are here at the Punic Wars. There were 3 wars fought over 100 years. So from 264 to 146 BC. Rome ultimately wins, okay? But there's a figure that I want to talk about. Anybody know? Kind of a really, really famous Carthaginian general, huh? Someone said it. Hannibal. That's right, Hannibal. I think Austin knew it. He's waving his hand back there. Yeah. So Hannibal, he was a general in Carthage. He is seen as one of the greatest generals of all time from this war. Okay, he was the son of a Carthaginian commander of the First Punic War, and he's most well known for his triumph. Well-known triumph occurred at an outbreak of the Second Punic War. Anyone know what I'm talking about? Huh? No? Man. This is when he successfully marched his army and war elephants over not one but two mountain ranges, the Pyrenees and the Alps. Okay, the Pyrenees and the Alps. Okay, so you can kind of see on that data line his route. So the Pyrenees are, you see where it says Spain and Gaul, there's a kind of a isthmus kind of thing connecting those. Between there, that is the Pyrenees Mountains. They're not incredibly big, right? But mountains nonetheless, right? And then in North Italy is just covered with the mountains. That's the Alps, right? Did you see those mountains, Chuck, when you were over there? Oh yeah. It's pretty widespread up there. Yeah, but you saw the Alps in general. Nice. All right, so Hannibal had many victories against Rome, but they eventually learned his tactics and defeated him. Actually, when Rome attacked Carthage, they pretty much laid that place out. I mean, they were just burned to the ground, and everything was destroyed. So after the war, he successfully ran for office in Carthage, where he wanted to enact many tax reforms to help pay the war taxes Rome levied on the city. But these were unpopular pretty much among everybody in Carthage, so he left. He leaves Carthage, and he goes to the Seleucid Empire, right? The ones who are now on the Persian side, right? And he becomes a military advisor to Antiochus II in his war against Rome. Well, Antiochus II lost, so Hannibal, what did he do? Ran away again, right? But then he was eventually betrayed and taken into Roman custody. So he spent the rest of his life in Roman prison, but still, he's still seen as one of the greatest military strategists of all time. Okay, I mean, how do you take an army over two mountain ranges? I mean, that's kind of crazy. So the Bible does not specifically mention the Roman Empire, but it does refer to Rome as a whole, right? So, or to Rome, which is the capital of the Roman Empire, right? Because that's where they're from. If you look in Acts chapter 2, verse 10, it says, Phrygia and Pamphylia, Egypt, and parts of Libya near Cyrene, visitors from Rome, right? Talking about Romans. Acts 8, chapter 18, verse 2. There he met a Jewish man named Aquila, a native of Pontus, who had recently moved from Italy, and his wife Priscilla, because Claudius had ordered all Jews to leave Rome. Paul went to see them, okay? Romans, which is obviously named after the Roman people, right? Romans chapter 1, verse 7, to all in Rome who are loved by God and called to do his holy, to be his holy people, grace and peace to you from God our Father and from the Lord Jesus Christ. 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 17, on the contrary, when he was in Rome, he searched hard for me until he found me. Okay, and then there are different variations of this next line here in the books of Galatians, not Galatians, right? Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, 2 Timothy, and in Philemon, where where it's always kind of ended like this. It says, I, Paul, write this greeting in my own hand. Remember my chains, grace be with you. He's talking about Roman people, right? So Rome controlled most of the western Mediterranean coastline by 146 BC. They're the only superpower now in the region. But not everything was great, or as I said up there, not everything is hunky-dory, right? There's still a lot of civil unrest due to class distinctions. So, for example, freemen could be drafted and they paid taxes, but slaves were not drafted and paid no taxes. Okay? Men were always called to fight because Rome was always fighting somebody. Okay? So that means farms are poorly kept, and there are a lot of unpaid debts due to disability. Because soldiers will come home and maybe they can't walk anymore, maybe they lost an arm or something like that, right? So they can't really do their job back home, okay, to take care of their farms and their families. So the merchant, which is the ruling class, merchants who were not sent, they were not sent to fight, okay? They're getting richer and richer because of the trade routes that the soldiers are opening up for them, right? And they are foreclosing debt-ridden farms. So, additionally, wealthy landowners would not hire freemen. Why? Why would they not hire freemen who came back from war? Or we'll say veterans, right? Why would they not hire veterans? Well, for one, yeah, they're slaves, yeah. But yeah, they might get pulled again back to war, right? They might get, actually they probably would be because they're still eligible, right? Because they bought slaves instead because they're not going anywhere. They're not paying taxes, things like that. So in comes a guy named Tiberius Sempronius Gracchus. Okay, he took up the cause of the poorer classes. His plan was to protect soldiers' land to allow them to return to their farms without facing taxes or lose their homes due to debts. But who do you think opposed this? The Senate. Why? Because they're landowners, right? They just want to get more and more land to help them get richer and richer. So they litigated about this for a long time, right? It was a hard-fought battle, but in order to silence him, they killed him. Right? This is Gracchus here. It says the people's man up there. Okay? So now there's a conflict over voting. Many citizens throughout Rome thought Rome wasn't being fair and requested more voting rights in the Senate, which this led to a civil war where there was hardly anything changed. So it was clear that the Senate couldn't keep it together. So now the people are looking for a single leader to hold the nation together. There's kind of three choices here. We have Pompey. He's the middle bust there. We have Crassus, who's the guy on the right, and we have Julius Caesar, who is on the left. This is called the first triumvirate, or you can see the tria there, 3, right? 3. So, but you know that saying, right? 3 is a crowd. So Crassus is killed in a battle. Pompey and Julius then Julius Caesar go to a civil war, and which Caesar won, right? I think this is with when that crossing the Rubicon came in. It was sometime during this time. So Caesar won. Pompey flees to Egypt, and the Egyptians kill Pompey to gain Caesar's favor. And I'm going to end on this last slide here. So, while in Egypt to confirm Pompey's death, Caesar met a lady. Who did he meet? You guys know? Huh? He met Cleopatra. Cleopatra. So this brought her back. So he brought her back to Rome, and he had a kid with her. I think they had actually several kids together. But now with total control of the empire, he declares himself dictator for life. Julius Caesar did. And we're going to stop right there. To be continued. Thank you.